Happy Tuesday, everyone, and welcome into another episode of the Lions Grid. I am Kevin Marheine. I'm joined today by my co-host, Jeffrey Raymond. Jeffrey, it is a bit of a bittersweet post-Lions Day episode because, of course, we're here to celebrate a absolutely stunning victory over the Dallas Cowboys, but we got revenge with a cost, Jeffrey.
Yeah, Aiden Hutchinson out for the year. He had surgery right after the game for a compound fracture on his leg. Not good, but it's very sombering because it's on the heels of a big win here.
Well, I know there's definitely reasons to be concerned. Obviously, when you lose not only one of the best players on your team to an injury, but you lose one of the best pass rushers in the league, like there's no just replacing him. Like there's always next man up and all that good stuff, but there's no way that you are going to replace someone who was leading the NFL in sacks and then was also like on pace with his pressures, was just blowing it out of the water. Like he was already at 40 some odd on like less than 200 pass rushes, and you compare that to his rookie season where he had another fantastic season and he had like 50 something on 500. So he was well above pace, and was definitely just he was a force, and he was a force in the game as well. And so not having him is certainly going to be a problem. I'm not going to say it's not, but I don't think we need to go full doom and gloom. I know, yes, did the Lions betting odds to win the Super Bowl take a hit? Is it going to hurt to have him not there? Absolutely, but I think there are some options for the Lions, and I'm still holding out hope. I'm staying optimistic. You look at the Michigan Wolverines. They went out and won the national championship for Zach Zinter after they lost him, their center. And you already have a bunch of the Lions players coming out and saying that the rest of this season is for Aiden. So that could help motivate them there. The other good news is, particularly when it comes to the injury, I mean, it's not for nothing that injury could have ended his career. Like he broke both his tibia and his fibia. That is a significant injury to Aiden Hutchinson. And the fact that the surgery was successful and that the prognosis is that he should be able to make a full recovery and return to NFL play, like that is also optimistic. I mean, yeah, it sucks for this season, but I mean, it could have been an injury that ended his career. So, you have to take it with take the good with the bad. Sucks for this season. My dad coming on here saying Kool-Aid drinker. I will point out that I had gotten back Jeffrey making the trip from your place to my place, and he was very happy to point out that injury could be a career ender. As you know, I might be a Kool-Aid drinker, but he's definitely drinking on that haterade there in the comments.
Yeah, seriously.
But I think something we can all agree on, regardless of our allegiances to NFL teams, is that the Cowboys got spanked at home. And I think the best part about it, Jeffrey, is, as we were talking about before the show here, on Jerry Jones' birthday.
Yeah, spoiled it on his 83rd birthday, was it?
His 82nd, I believe.
82nd? Okay, yeah, but regardless, we were essentially dancing on his grave there. It was pretty awesome from that standpoint, I'd say. Being that Dallas and us have become a bit of a rivalry. We haven't beaten them in double-digit appearances when we played together up until this week. So it was good for us. It was a good revenge game for us getting robbed last year. And I think Dallas has not had a great start to the season, but I think they are fully exposed right now.
Yeah, I think if you look at this game, like you can see there, that first play to CeeDee Lamb, it was a little worrisome. It looked like the Cowboys were going to come out here and that they were going to sort of set the tone early in this game. But it was, you could tell this game meant two different things to both teams, right? The Lions clearly had this game circled on the calendar. You can tell that just from the play calls, like having Dan Skipper line up multiple times at receiver, having him report eligible, like letting Ben Johnson go into the bag of tricks. Like they came out here
spamming the taunt button, going for 2, and when you're up 40 and Madden kind of thing, it was pretty hilarious.
Yeah, the Lions were coming out here for revenge, and they certainly got it. And I think the unique thing too is, we have on the Cowboy side, you have both both Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, who got their paydays. And, Cowboys fans have been wanting them, okay, you got the bag, now step up and play like you deserved it. And they haven't really done that yet this season. Whereas David Montgomery, he gets his extension through the 2027 season. And in this game, he got the bag. And Jeffrey, he stepped up for the Lions in this game. He was a force out there running for the Lions. So David Montgomery looked good in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. He's paying off and himself off every game. There's good reason for us to kind of lock him up, and it goes a lot for a player's confidence when a team believes in you that much mid-year. We're riding with you, and clearly he responds well to it.
Yeah, it's going. I mean, obviously outside of the injury to Aiden Hutchinson, there was just everything else seemed to go really well in this game for the Lions. There really
Yeah.
was nothing where they struggled. They seemed to move the ball at will. Again, they were able to pull out some of those trick plays and look good doing them. And it just Sam Laporta got his first touchdown of the season, get him rolling. Just a
Yeah.
lot of good stuff from the Lions in this
Yeah,
game.
Khalif Raymond had a great game. Six receptions, for only 4 yards. Oh, I thought that was I thought that was 6 receptions for 73 yards. But yeah, it's overall good. Jared Goff kept his efficiency streak going, and yeah, it's a it's good to roll on him.
Yeah, Jeffrey, if you take a look here at the box score, you can see certainly outclassed the Cowboys in pretty much every statistical category. The total yards, the passing yards, the rushing yards, the yards per play, the team stats clearly in the Lions' favor. And then if we take a look here at the individual or the further breakdown, 27 first downs, 4 of 10 on third down, 1 of 2 on fourth down. They did allow the 3 sacks there, but no punts on the day. Penalty yards, that's something we continue to keep an eye on there, just because they do. It wasn't as bad as the Cowboys or not the Cowboys, the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets on Monday Night Football. They had
Oh,
nearly
man.
200 yards of penalties between the two of them.
Oh, man.
But we know Terrion Arnold has struggled a little bit. He's played well, but he has been flagged quite a bit in his rookie season here. So something we keep an eye on. But overall, again, looking at the box score, final score, everything about the game, all indicators good there. And I think that's one of the reasons, even despite the injury to Aiden Hutchinson, that you have seen the Lions sort of as the power rankings have come out this week. The Lions have sort of cemented themselves right now as the power currently for a lot of people in the NFC, especially with the Vikings on a bye week, not in action. It makes this upcoming week's game against those Vikings very interesting.
Yeah, we got a big showdown. Our NFC North season starts. It's gonna be interesting to see how we respond.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see how the Lions do address the Aiden Hutchinson injury. Obviously, it's their 2 top pass rushers, right? Aiden Hutchinson clearly was leading this team in terms of pass rushing, but Marcus Davenport, who's been on IR, was their number 2 guy in terms of the statistically being their second best pass rusher. And Josh Pascal, who filled in there for Aiden once he got hurt, is a distant third. So and when I say, I mean it's pretty far distance. So it's going to be interesting, Jeffrey, and I'm sure during Sunday's episode I'll get a little bit more info out of you as we do some roaring and boring about exactly how we feel the Lions will address the injury and move forward with it. But here initially, do you think that the Lions will be able to, from a scheme perspective or the personnel that they already have in the building, do you think they'll be able to sort of like moneyball it and recreate that pressure in the aggregate? Or do you think in order for them to have any sort of pass rush that they're going to need to go out and make a splash with some trades to a trade or trades in order to bring in some talent to try and find pass rush now that Hutchinson is done for the season?
Yeah, I think scheme wise, regardless, because like you said, he was on such a historic production rate. I think it's going to be very difficult to moneyball that, even to get
Mm.
even to get half of what he was doing. Would be would be great. But I wouldn't be surprised here if we don't take a swing at something here as the season goes on. I mean, Max Crosby's sitting out there. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. No
Hmm.
thanks on Hassan Reddick.
Yeah,
Who
no,
I don't
hard
feel
pass on that.
hard pass on that. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we were calling around, even if like the kind of the going by way of kind of having multiple guys, maybe trading for multiple people kind of here to kind of help us get help where we need it there.
Yeah, I kind of see there being sort of two paths to victory. Like you could either do something big and splashy where you are going after like a Max Crosby or something like that. The downside to that is that I imagine I've seen a lot of people suggest that it'll take 2 first-round picks to get Max Crosby, and
Ooh,
that's pretty steep. That's a steep asking price. I mean, Max Crosby is a very good defender. He is one of the best edge rushers in the game, and so usually it is pretty hard to get that type of player out of a team. And so I could, but the Raiders are a team who have the history of trading Khalil Mack in his prime. So they, potentially there could be something there. But who knows what that would cost you? But it could be another example where maybe you go after a couple of guys like maybe a Zadarius Smith, some of those veteran players who are, on a 1-year contract where you could bring them in, try and get a couple guys to help give you a couple options to get some pass rush on there, and then maybe you're not as investing as heavily into that trade, or maybe there's even easier to do because who knows? I mean, I know there's some issues going on with Max Crosby and the Raiders and just the Raiders in general. It's not a fun time. Of course, they just traded a Devonte Adams, which we'll talk about here in a little bit.
for
But
a third rounder. So I
yeah,
mean, it
so
could
yeah,
could be on the
yeah,
thing.
we'll have to see what they do. I think another interesting one, of course, another team that traded a player is Amari Cooper out of the Browns. So, interesting. A Miles Garrett, perhaps. Who knows? That could be.
As long as he's not swinging helmets at
Hey, if
people,
if he's swinging helmets for us and he's not getting suspended, that's fine. I'll take it. As long as he's not swinging them at our quarterbacks, that's fine. Uh, Detroit fan man, welcome to the show here. Favorite media line: the Lions played the Globetrotter football, literally dribbling the Cowboys on Jerry
he
Jones'
was so
birthday.
salty about it. He got mad at his radio spot today. He went on there and some of the hosts were asking about like some of the decisions about off season, that kind of thing, and he got annoyed and was kind of like, I can ask other people to take these questions. It's like, wow, man, it's you can tell that we were in his craw.
I mean, rightfully so. I mean, you've had that, like we talked about. It's like a budding rivalry between these two organizations, these two franchises. Both of them trying to sort of establish themselves as as they have these Super Bowl windows as premier contenders in the NFC, and especially with San Francisco having the issues they're having. Like the NFC seems like this is a wide open season, and the fact that it looks like Jerry Jones may once again miss out on that, and on his birthday he gets that 40 burger hung on him. I mean, it's not good. It doesn't give you the warm fuzzies at all if you're a Cowboys fan or Jerry Jones. But as Lions fans, it's fantastic. It was great. Midas, of course, the injury to Aiden Hutchinson. That kind of it taints it a little bit, right? Like this should be a week. Like we should be totally psyched about the fact that this team where we were wronged last season, we get this victory over them. But it's like, yeah, we got the win, but at what cost? Like,
Yeah, it's very it's very bittersweet. It's very bittersweet. But
and I think the worst part about it too is the fact that watching that play, and I know they don't like to show it, and it is just it it's haunting to watch. And but the fact that the injury was like sustained by him like hitting his leg on Alan McNeil, just that solid human being, just
ugh,
crazy. Just
yeah. Yeah, I don't. I typically don't watch the gruesome ones. I've still not watched Alex Smith's compound fracture. I just, it's just something I know it happens. I don't want to see it, kind of thing. But yeah, I wish him all the best. Yeah, I hope his recovery is speedy, and he comes back, and I think that competitive nature in him is going to have him come back with a vengeance.
Yeah, he definitely seems to have that fire in him, a desire to drive enemy quarterbacks into the earth's crust. So we'll see if he can channel that into his recovery. And I know it felt a little like too early, but I know some people were like, "Oh yeah, he could be back for the Super Bowl if they make a run." It's like let's just let him give him the time he needs to
Yeah.
heal, because that's a pretty substantial injury right there.
Yeah.
All right, Jeffrey. Well, now it is time for our Grind the Grid segment where we take a look at the NFL action around the league here in Week 6, and we'll dive in with the Thursday night game here. We had the San Francisco 49ers on the road in Seattle in NFC West showdown, and despite all of the injuries that San Francisco has, they did get a 36-24 victory to start off Week 6 here. Jason Mason, the guy who's filling in for Christian McCaffrey, he did get hurt in this game. He was the rushing leader up until that point in time, too. But I know he has an injury that's going to sort of hamper him for the next couple of weeks here. So going to be interesting to see. But the guy that came on in relief for him did have 99 rushing yards himself. So apparently with the 49ers, you just plug and play, man. You just stick a running back there.
Or a wide receiver. I mean, Juwan Jennings was going off in any given week. It's truly a testament to kind of the ship that Kyle Shanahan runs on the offense, especially.
Yeah, pretty crazy, then taking a look here, we have the our game that was played in jolly old England, Jeffrey. The Jaguars' second home, even though they were the away team in this one, and Caleb Williams and the Bears made Doug Peterson look like one of the hottest hot butts in the league here as they handle business. Of course, the Jaguars do play the Patriots next week, and they are the home team this time in England. But Jeffrey, do you think if the Jaguars drop that game to the Patriots, you think they let Doug Peterson get on the plane back to England?
Man, we've already had
him there.
We've already had one post-London firing this year. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised with kind of the way that they're falling apart here. It's incredible, really. It's maybe they'll get the bump from it being a Mac Jones revenge game, with Mac Jones backing up Trevor Lawrence. But not good vibes there over in Jacksonville.
No, when you have Doug Peterson saying the team needs a culture change and he is the head coach that sets the culture, the writing may be on the wall there for him. It does not seem good. And on the other side of things, Jeffrey, Caleb Williams, of course, it's against the Jaguars, so we can take it easy. But they handled business against that team. So, I guess we've talked about, as we're kind of looking to start our NFC North schedule, would certainly prefer that the Bears still look kind of trash on offense, and that's not the case currently.
Yeah, I think the most concerning thing is that the offense looks better every week. Now, concerning, I totally a wait and see what our defense kind of looks at it, but the fact that he didn't even complete 10 passes first game, starting to get his feet under him. Now he's throwing multi-touchdown games. He's running the ball well. The weapons are starting to come out, and the fact that they have a pretty good special teams and defense going on too kind of makes me a little worried. A little bit of a danger rising over there.
Yeah, and the fact that last week it was that the NFC North was the only team with all four teams above 500. Now we are the only division with every team with 2 wins above 500. So it just keeps, with the NFC North just keeps winning, and it means that it's going to be just that much more of a battle as we look to take on those opponents, because all of them so far look good, and that does not make an easy road for the Lions. Jeffrey, next up here, your lock of the week. You took the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they did not disappoint.
They did not. I expected it to actually be a closer game, but yeah, Spencer Rattler's NFL debut, I didn't think he played that poorly. He had to end up throwing the ball 40 times. You don't want your first unless this guy's really zipping it and throwing it on out there. You don't want your rookie throwing 40 times, but kind of became like that because they were in catch-up mode towards the end of the game. But yeah, Tampa Bay looking good. Baker's looking good again. It's that division's going to be spicy,
Yeah, I
especially
think
between Tampa Bay and Atlanta. I think they're kind of cementing themselves in as kind of like the two teams there.
the Saints started off the season hot and may have duped us all. They looked like, of course, we'll have to see what Derek Carr looks like when he's back, but they started out hot. It looked like maybe they had found a secret recipe during the offseason to success, but after that thumping they just received from Tampa Bay, we'll have to see how they respond because it's not looking great for the Saints after that.
Yep. Baker Mayfield did throw 3 picks, but 2 of them were off of deflections, so I think that was a little inflated there. Overall, good game by him.
And then in my lock of the week, I called Commanders. I didn't even want the points. They let me down here, but I will say that Jaden Daniels, he looked the part, and he was here against definitely against the Super Bowl contender team in Baltimore and looked good. So if they can figure out their defensive side of things, this Commanders team could be a problem. They are 4-2 now, but in leading the NFC East, so they're still definitely very much in contention. But Lamar, again, he put the team on his back there, led them to, I believe that's their 4th straight win. Let me just double check there, but I believe that's the Ravens' 4th straight. Yep, their 4th straight victory after starting 0-2 on the season. Looks to have things figured out there. I know Zay Flowers had like 100 yards and by the time the second quarter started, so he got out to a hot start, and Derrick Henry continues to just look like the best pickup.
Zay Flowers waits until he's not on your team anymore,
and then he's popped. Well, I had that same thing with Brandon Ayuk. He finally had that 1 week last week, and after I was like, no, I'm not keeping you around. Go away, and he just pops off then. But the Commanders still surprisingly good. Jaden Daniels, I think I think he's got it, and hopefully he continues to keep up this play. And then the Ravens handled business. So I mean, I'll take the loss as my first incorrect lock of the week, but I still feel pretty good about how the Commanders played. They looked good in that game. All right, Jeffrey. Next, over to you, Packers, Cardinals. Why don't you break down how the Packers and Jordan Love looked here?
Yeah, so the Packers here. Actually, sorry, I thought this was on your list here.
Oh, no worries. I got you. Well, so I mean, in this game, Jeffrey, Jordan Love threw for 4 touchdowns. As this offense continues to look good. We had a Christian Watson sighting. Jaden Reed got involved. He really had all the tools. Romeo Doubs actually got 2 touchdowns in this after being benched last week for having a performance or conduct detrimental to the team. So apparently they're back in on a good status, but certainly scary because the defense also continues to make plays. They held Kyler Murray and this Cardinals offense to 303 total yards. They caused them to punt 4 times. They had 3 fumbles lost. So the Packers defense looking good. The offense is looking good. As we talked about, Jeffrey, concerning as we get closer to having to start playing games against these NFC North opponents. But I mean, when you compare the NFC North to the other divisions, the NFC North right now, it definitely seems like the best division in football, and the Packers offense looking like they might be as good as some people thought they would be in the offseason. So,
yeah. On the other side, though, Arizona, Marvin Harris Jr. suffered a concussion this game, so they definitely need him out there to turn themselves around because they're kind of coming out a little flat here at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, the NFC North is doing great. The NFC West is definitely a bit of a mess there. Their best, the 49ers kind of lead that at 3-3, their division. So it's a little messy here in the early goings for those NFC West teams. And speaking of the West Coast, we want to welcome in Hatter's House here, 7110. He's out there in beautiful Los Angeles, Welcome to the stream, and go
Welcome.
Lions. All right, Jeffrey. The next game up here, we have Joe Flacco, the Elite Dragon, the Eternal One, getting that win on the road against the Tennessee Titans. Why don't you walk us through this AFC South matchup?
Yeah, so one that I did have my notes up for this game here. Yeah, you're right. Flacco coming in, still doing well overall, but on the other side, Will Levis continues to play kind of his up and down, kind of baffling decisions mixed in there with like seeing like, okay, we see why we drafted somebody like this with the kind of raw talent that he has, but they just can't seem to put it together. Tony Pollard did have a decent day rushing on the ground, but he's no King Henry as far as their run game, as far as rumbling and helping out Will Levis. So overall, Colts take it again. Joe Flacco, the ageless one, can't be stopped. The Browns wish they had him.
Yeah, he definitely is playing better than Deshaun Watson. It's interesting. I wonder if DeAndre Hopkins, of course, is with the Titans. He's in the last year of his contract, I believe. He could be a guy. We've seen Devontae Adams, we've seen Amari Cooper on the move. Potentially DeAndre Hopkins. He could be a guy that a team could target there as that 1-year rental to make a Super Bowl push. So maybe the Chiefs look to him now that some of the more preferred targets are on the move.
Yeah,
but interesting to
Will
see what
Levis
happens
not
there.
cracking 100 yards passing. His time might be numbered as far as kind of being the starter here. I mean, they did take the swing on him, right, to kind of be the post kind of Tannehill, see what he can do. He's very much tracked like Josh Allen coming out of college. But the thing is, with Josh Allen, who came out of college, he was not good for a while, So eventually they kind of worked in and worked on him. But it'll be interesting to see if Tennessee kind of has a short leash on him. If they might think about starting someone else.
Yeah, and if you are a Houston Texans fan, you're loving how much the rest of the AFC South is struggling. You're sitting there at 5-1, Titans 1-4, Jaguars 1-5. The Colts are really your only worry at 3-3. So, good time to be a Texans fan. All right, Jeffrey. Next up here, we have, speaking of the Texans, they had the New England Patriots in Foxborough, Gillette Stadium. 41-21 the final score there, and Drake May era has started for the Patriots. But while there were certainly some flashes, as we sort of talked about, Jeffrey, even with just replacing Jacoby Brissett with Drake May was not going to fix the problems with this team. And so kind of an easy thumping that the the Texans were able to provide to the Patriots. Jeff, it's funny. We had been talking before the games that, this season had really been a lot of close games and teams weren't really getting blown out. And then week 6 happened and a lot of teams got blown out. So this was definitely one of those games where the Texans handled business. Joe Mixon came back from injury and looked good running the ball. And certainly, I think to have the Texans be the best versions of themselves, they need that running game. If they have that running game, they are definitely a much more dynamic team. Whereas if you know that CJ Stroud has to drop back because there's no one who can run the ball, you can sort of pin your ears back and go after him at that point in time. So if Joe Mixon can stay healthy and they can keep that ground production, the Texans are definitely a team to keep an eye on in the AFC. All right, Jeffrey. Next up, we had what was probably, the fact that the Eagles had a bye week to prepare for this game against the Browns team that has been absolutely awful. And they only won by 4 points. And then Nick Sirianni is taunting the fans at the end of the game. We'll come back to Nick Sirianni a couple times later on in this episode. But let's just say this was kind of this game was just. Oof.
It was ugly.
Yeah.
It was ugly.
It's not good for anyone involved. Neither of these teams are really not looking good here in this part of the season. The Browns, I mean, it's kind of unfair to Kevin Stefanski that they continue. I mean, I know they owe Deshaun Watson all that money, but like, you kind of have to do what like the Tigers did with Javi Baez. Like, yeah, we owe Javi Baez a lot of money, but ultimately, for us to make the playoffs, we just benched his ass. Like, we just took him out. Like,
Yeah,
so
this makes it seem like it's coming from ownership. I mean, Kevin Stefanski trots out there every week and gets these questions, and he's just like, Deshaun Watson gives us our best chance to win. Deshaun Watson's our way. Deshaun Watson's the starter, and it's like it's so clear that he's just like falling on the sword for Jimmy Haslam. There's no there. I feel no other way about it. There's no way that anyone could see this offense, see the way Deshaun's been playing, and say this is objectively good.
yeah, that's fair. And on the other side, the Eagles, they just got back AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and no real like you would expect there to be like a surge of offense, especially coming off the bye week and getting those weapons back. I mean, the Browns' defense is certainly their strength, but again, with as much as their offense struggles, you would expect to see some kind of lift out of the Eagles. I mean, they did get the win, but just again, questions abound there about a team struggling, is to say the least. There, when it comes to the Eagles,
it'll be interesting to see that first Philadelphia versus Dallas game. Which one of those versions?
Which team wants to lose more?
Yeah, which versions of those teams are we going to see?
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting there. Gonna be interesting. Although, quickly, Jeffrey, who do you think? I think the only person that was really happy from this game is now today Amari Cooper. He went to sleep being like, "Oh,
yeah.
I'm stuck here in Cleveland hell," and then woke up today and is like, "Okay, I'm going to the Bills."
Yeah, he gets Josh Allen to throw at him. It'll be way better regardless of how Josh Allen's playing. Based on what we've seen. So it'll be good. It'll be the Bills sorely needed a playmaker on offense. Amari Cooper, he's a good receiver, but can he be the number one guy? But it can only go up from here for that room. So he's got a great opportunity to kind of establish himself here.
Yeah, from chumps to champs, he's got a good chance here to make a big swing in the outcome of his season. So we'll see what he can do there with the Bills. And then, Jeffrey, we had the AFC West matchup between the Los Angeles Chargers and the Denver Broncos. Jim Harbaugh, before this game, was having some, I think, what they call cardiac fluctuations or rhythmic fluctuations or something like that. But he is 2-0, as he posted now, going up against heart issues. So he seems like he's good. I wonder if it had something to do, too, with like playing in Denver at Mile High. And Ryan Clark, he had that I think it was a blood condition or something like that caused him to like struggle out there with the altitude and everything. So I wonder if that tied into it at all. But Chargers themselves came out there and with their head coach sidelined, came out there and won one for him, 1-1 for the Gipper there, getting the 23-16 victory against the division rival Broncos. Pat Surtain Jr. did go down in that game, Jeffrey, and looks like he'll miss a couple of weeks. So that Broncos defense that has been outstanding on the season, losing their top corner, we'll have to see how that impacts them moving forward. But the Chargers getting that win against the Broncos and falling in second place now behind the Chiefs in the AFC West. Still holding on to that spot, not let Sean Payton and the Broncos take it away from them.
Yeah, I think Jim. I think you got to give the edge to the Chargers in the division at this point. Obviously, it's Kansas City's until anyone else can kind of stop them. But
until anyone inside or outside the division can beat them, because they're still rocking that 5-0 with the bye week.
Yeah.
And is it coincidence, Jeff, that both 5-0 teams were on a bye week at the same time? I don't know. NFL
script writers. Those script writers.
All right, Jeffrey. A team that's been near and dear to your heart this year when it's come to lock of the. Oop, we went a little farther. Go back one. Near and dear to your heart for locks of the week, the Pittsburgh Steelers, Jeffrey.
Yeah,
Going to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders. Why don't you walk us through that game?
this was another Steelers type of game where mostly led by the defense, and this time the running game got exploded as far as Najee Harris having a fantastic day, Justin Fields running the ball well, and they didn't have to move the ball as much because they got such good field position off of those turnovers, and TJ Watt's out there still just being a one-man wrecking crew for this defense. Their special teams is doing well. It's 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 interesting because Russell Wilson is looking to come back next week, and they're thinking about giving him starting reps and having him start. And he brings a way different dynamic to kind of his play style to this offense, which right now is rolling, having good field position, a staunchy defense, and a run game.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how things play out. And of course, there is a another disgruntled wide receiver in this game, besides Devontae Adams, who did not play. George Pickens, he had the "I'm always effing open" on his eye black the other day. Got fined by the NFL for that. There's been some questions around his effort and things like that. So, maybe before this trade deadline, I think I certainly like how the trade deadline has become more active recently in NFL seasons. Like there are actually like players that get moved. So George Pickens could be a guy to keep an eye on. He's on that rookie contract.
Yikes.
The Steelers certainly have not.
Based on what we've seen, I would not want him anywhere near my locker room.
You gotta wonder, is it just like, is he like a locker room cancer, or is it just one of those things where he feels like he's, you only have so many NFL seasons and you're just wasting away being on a subpar team. I don't know. The Steelers, they always have had winning seasons while he's been there, so it's not like they're an awful team. It's so
I don't know, the Steelers and head case wide receivers, man. they seem to attract them like magnets.
They do seem whoever is clearing them in the interviews, they might want to have someone else try doing that at the combine. And then Jeffrey, the NFC South matchup between the Falcons and the Panthers. Why don't you talk to us about this game where Kirk Cousins and the Falcons rolled?
So Kirk Cousins came down to earth as far as his masterful game on Thursday Night Football last week, but he didn't need to do it all because the running game came out strong. Tyler Algier leading the way, 3 touchdowns total between him and Bijan Robinson. Andy Dalton throwing 2 picks, a very costly throw up in the air pick, and it was a game in the fourth quarter, but ultimately turnovers matter, especially in this game. And again, Carolina just doesn't have the talent to keep up.
Yeah, I know at first when the Red Rifle came in, it seemed like he had injected some energy into this offense, and that maybe they weren't as bad as it looked with Bryce Young, but not so sure anymore, Jeffrey. It just doesn't seem like a great situation down there, and whoever is behind center is going to struggle. And I think maybe Andy Dalton looked a little bit better than Bryce Young, just because Bryce Young has been kind of beat down and his confidence is sort of deteriorated. But Andy Dalton he looked okay, but it certainly is he's fallen off as well. So
I think the difference is Tank being a tank commander and looking like an NFL team versus being a tank commander and looking like an absolute joke of an NFL team on the offensive side, at least.
Yeah, but I mean, for fans, if you're I guess maybe you feel a little bit more pride if you're out there and you're losing games and it looks like you could win, but I mean, a loss is a loss. So thinking back to those Lions games where the Lions were losing in close games as opposed to getting blown out, I mean, it still hurt. It still hurt either way. So I don't know. Then Jeffrey, I know quickly here, the Lions, of course, and the Cowboys. I know we went into this game quite a bit, but Lions, I mean, they handled business, but I think we won't know, we're now in a what if universe, right? Like what could have happened if Aiden Hutchinson hadn't got hurt in this game? Yeah,
Yeah.
we just won't know.
Yeah, I think this game actually says more about Dallas than it does about us. But yeah, that's
Well, I will say that it does say about us: do not get on Brad or on Dan Campbell's bad side, because he will. He holds a grudge, and he is not afraid to come out there and let you know that he held on to that grudge.
yes.
All right, Jeffrey.
Yikes.
We had the Bangos, Burrow, and crew headed into the Meadowlands in New Jersey, taking on the New York Giants. Why don't you talk us through the Sunday Night Football game?
In a game where Joe Burrow led the all Bengals rushing with his longest run of his career, 47-yard scamper to the end zone. But he's doing everything he can out there, but it's just not looking good. It's just they just don't look good overall on offense. They're against the team, the Giants, who on paper I feel like they should be they should be beating them by a lot more, at least looking better doing it, and they didn't. It kind of came down to the end. New York scored their first touchdown at home this season, so congrats to them. But overall, just up and down performance. Danny Dimes threw the ball 41 times. He also led their rushing attack. So just ugly game, just ugly game.
Yeah, two teams where you question on what they're going to be able to do. I don't really expect to see either of these two teams in the postseason. Of course, if I had to choose one and bet on them, it would probably be Cincinnati, despite them having to overcome that their 0-3 start to the season. So surprisingly, Bengals are 0-3 at home and 2-1 on the road. So apparently a much better road team this year than they are a home team. But we'll have to see how things go. But yeah, definitely. I didn't include either of these two head coaches on our initial hot butts segment, Jeffrey, but could be candidates to be on there depending on how the season continues to play out here for sure.
Yeah.
And then on Monday night, Jeffrey, this was also a game where you had two teams, two division rivals in the AFC East, and neither team really seemed like they wanted to win this game. They were both out there making plays, but like there were a lot of times where it was like, okay, we're gonna miss field goals. There are a lot of miscues, a lot of penalties, nearly 200 yards worth. It seemed like both teams were trying to do everything in their power to self-sabotage. But you know what? The Jets gave the Bills the win, and they get out of there 23-20 and hold on to first place in the AFC East, now at 4-2, well ahead of the pack, Jeffrey. And of course, both teams deciding that they were unhappy with the offense and bringing in players with trades here on Tuesday. So interesting stuff.
Yeah, you could tell the exact moment where Mike Williams lost his job there. He's being actively shopped around now too. Aaron Rodgers threw him under the bus. He threw everybody under the bus, but he specifically was like Mike Williams ran the wrong route on my last pick, and it's already Aaron Rodgers has a reputation for not trusting receivers, especially if they don't catch passes, kind of thing. So it's. I think bringing Devontae Adams, albeit he's better than their entire wide receiving room outside of Elijah Mitchell, but I don't know. I feel like the vibes are too bad. I feel like there's just something about this team, like they're like a paper tiger, just ready to like fall apart here.
Yeah, they certainly didn't get the lift they were looking for by letting Robert Saleh go. The offense did look a little better, but ultimately there were enough miscues that they weren't able to win the game. So definitely a game. It was their game against the Bills at home. Of course, they'll play them in Buffalo. But if you're looking to win the division, winning that game at home, probably a missed opportunity there for the Jets, and one that could certainly impact their ability to be in the postseason. So, I definitely think the Jets at this point were pot committed and needed to get Devontae Adams. They brought him in. But I do like the move from the Bills to like counteract that and say, hey, okay, you're going to go get Devontae Adams. We'll go get Amari Cooper, and we'll take a look at those trades again in just a second. But Jeffrey, if we move on to our hot butt segment here, you can see it is already a loaded room of gentlemen here. And of course, it doesn't depict Robert Saleh, who has had the hottest butt because he is already gowned. But, Kevin Stefanski, I think, is probably the guy here that I feel the worst for because of everything that's going on with Deshaun Watson and, all of that. I think he's the guy that's like the least in control of his his situation. And then Antonio Pierce, the Raiders don't have a quarterback, so that makes things difficult for him. The rest of these guys, Mike McCarthy, I think he's known all season long since he hasn't gotten the extension that he is he's dealing with a short time window to show things, and the fact the Cowboys are struggling isn't helping him out. Dennis Allen with the Saints, again, they started out looking really good, but things have kind of fallen off for them. Doug Peterson, even he's saying that the team needs a culture change, and he sets that culture. Again, just not good. And then Nick Sirianni there, never seen a head coach taunt fans in the stands after a win. That's something I've just never seen. And just everything going on, like all the stories around him and stuff like that, it just seems like we might be heading to an inevitable, it's that Thanos moment. It's inevitable, right? That he's gonna get snapped and just not be the head coach anymore for the Eagles.
Yeah, but, and and he embodies the fan base so much. I'm a known Philadelphia hater. I feel like people who have watched this before have said know that the NFC East do not like. But yeah, he's just kind of obnoxious. When things are going well, he's all great and everything. But it's just I feel like he lost the locker room in a big way. They just absolutely collapsed last season. I'm surprised he's even here, to be honest with you. But yeah, he's not going to make it very long.
Yeah. Do you think is there anyone here on the list so far that jumps out as you as maybe not making it through the end of the season? If I had to pick one, I think Doug Peterson's probably that guy. Like I said, I don't know if they lose to the Patriots this upcoming week. If you could see a move that early, like I don't know, maybe that's crazy, but
just leave him in an ice cream shop in London.
Have him get some fish and chips while he's over there and just stay. It's just you just stay here.
Yeah, I think as far as Stefanski goes, I feel like with the way I guess the MO for the Haslams as far as how they've run their team and just kind of given even recent history, they're going to just place the blame on Stefanski. All right, because they're locked up with Deshaun Watson. If at this point they're not moving away from him, I doubt that they will ever. Right, so it's just not good.
Yeah, I think he's definitely. I think the probably the coach most likely to rebound out of this group too, because I think he is. I think he is generally a good coach, and I could see him picking up with someone else, despite potentially, unfortunately, getting let go because of all the things going on in Cleveland. And then Jeffrey, of course, the trades we've already talked about them quite a bit. Devontae Adams to the Jets, Amari Cooper to the Bills. Should be upgrades for both of these teams. The nice thing for the Jets is that you now have, you have that deep threat that defenses are going to have to worry about, so that maybe that frees up Garrett Wilson a little bit more. I know they've been targeting him quite a bit anyways, trying to get him the ball in more creative ways, but certainly having Devontae Adams out there, if they're going to be focusing Garrett Wilson, it sort of frees him up. And then, of course, you have Allen Lazard that caught that Hail Mary pass, and just, again, for some reason, Aaron Rodgers loves him. He's his safety blanket. And, now he has two safety blankets, and one of them actually is talented in Devontae Adams. So I am even when I was a Packers fan, I want to make it clear that I was an Allen Lazard hater. Of all the guys that Aaron Rodgers has latched onto in his career, I have hated Allen Lazard. I don't know what it is about him. Do not like him. have a bad vibe. But then I think having Amari Cooper there for the Bills, Jeffrey, as we've talked about, giving Josh Allen a real number one option there for the team. He's had in the last 6 seasons, he's had five seasons where he's had over 1,100 yards in each of those 5 of those 6 seasons. So he could get that sixth one here in the seventh season. It wasn't looking likely when he was wearing the Browns uniform, but now he has a chance here with the Bills to maybe save his season and hit that milestone again here. So
yeah, he definitely has a much better chance with with Josh Allen throwing to him.
I don't know why you hate Lazard. All he does is catch passes. I mean, that's not all he does because he doesn't catch a whole lot of passes. He'll catch occasional passes, but that's when he just Alan Lazard not good. Not good. Don't think he would be on the practice squad in most teams in the NFL. All righty, Jeffrey. Well, speaking of Alan Lazard, Packers, and all that good stuff, our Kings of the North, of course, the Vikings were not in action this week, but they still remain as the currently the team sitting upon the throne at 5-0. But of course, this weekend we have a big matchup with those Vikings, so a chance for us, the current rulers of the NFC North, to take back the throne here in the early part of the season. But it'll be an interesting game that we'll talk about more on Sunday. But the fact that it is our first game without Aiden Hutchinson and it is being played in Minnesota, they've had an extra week to prepare for this game. It's going to be interesting, Jeff. It's going to be not an easy task to go in there and get that win.
No, especially if Sam Darnold keeps playing at the high level that he has. He kind of came down a little bit to earth before their bye week, but they've had that week to rest, to prepare, to kind of get another look at us, out there, kind of thing. Now Aiden Hutchinson less out there. So big matchup. Start of our Big Ten season, our NFC North season.
Big Ten and the NFC North, they have a similar feel. My dad calling the Lions to lose by 14 in that game.
Dang.
We'll have to see how that goes out. I don't think that'll be the case, but we'll see here, Jeffrey. We'll see. All right. Last thing to do here, Jeffrey, is our champs and our chumps of the week. Let's start with your champ pick for this week, Jeffrey.
My champ pick is Brian Branch this week, continuing his excellent playmaking, 2 interceptions in this game, just flying around, doing everything that he needs to do. Doesn't appear to be having a sophomore slump this year. Just appears to be kind of working off of what he does best, and it's encouraging seeing him kind of still keep up the production, because we'll definitely need him now that our pass rush is not going to be as fearsome as it was.
Yeah, we'll have to see certainly if there's a drop off in play, but the fact that him and Kirby Joseph have now that the pass rush has been impacted, I mean, it'll be interesting to see if him and Kirby Joseph, because they both have been playing outstanding there in the back end. So I feel good that they are they seem like they're playing well at this moment. Of course, we're heading to take on the Vikings with Justin Jefferson, who is definitely a problem in the rest of that Vikings offense. So the fact that they are playing at such a high level as we're going to take on an opponent where we're going to need them, especially with the injury to Hutchinson, it's good. We're strength versus strength right there is what it's going to come down to, and we'll have to see which one gets the win. And speaking of strengths, Jeffrey, we already mentioned him. He got the bag earlier in the week, getting his extension through the 2027 season. But my champ is David Montgomery. Again, especially when you compare him to the Cowboys, who have handed out their money and the players haven't lived up to the expectations that come with that. To see David Montgomery get his payday and then still be hungry, coming out there and running like a man possessed, love to see it. And we'll hopefully continue to see. I mean, he is. It's been funny with as good as he's been. I think you've started to hear some conversations about conversations around, did the Lions sort of overreach by drafting Jameer, investing a first round pick and investing in Jameer Gibbs. Now we've certainly talked about here on the show that we like having both of them and being able to sort of split, have them on, split the carries between them and split the workload so that either of them gets overworked. But with as good as he's been, it's caused some people in the national media to say, well, did they really need to invest a first round pick then in Jameer Gibbs? Because look at how good David Montgomery is. Couldn't they just, it's funny in an NFL now where everything is a sort of running back by committee or, having multiple running backs. It's funny how they sort of talk about the fact that, they're like, they didn't want to just have a bell cow back. It's like, yeah, that's because you're saying that's not how the NFL works. We followed that philosophy, and then you're like, oh, but did they need to do that? It's like,
yeah, I think it's just people reaching for things for sure. It sets us up for in-season success. You're keeping these guys fresh, right? They're both good at some different things, and they also actually do everything pretty well as it turns out. And just keeping those guys fresh. So David Montgomery is still able to destroy people in January, February. He doesn't have like that extra 20 carries, 15, 20 carries a game, especially given his running style, right? Because we've seen running backs fall off pretty hard after any given year. Just sometimes all the hits and the punishment, they just catch up with you. And I think it like you downturn one of the fastest in really any position in the football league, in National Football League. So just having that for in season success and then long term success, that we're limiting the chances of him kind of falling off because he's taking all that punishment. So I'd say, yeah, let's have more weapons in the running back room, because running game is making a comeback this season. So clearly it's still valuable.
I see my dad throwing some shade in there, calling me the chump, but I don't know about that. I think if we're throwing chumps around, I recognize that I sort of misjudged the David Montgomery signing. I was a big Jamal Williams fan. He was with the Packers. The Swag Kage had come in and had sort of helped establish that culture here in Detroit. So I was definitely a little salty when they let him go. But then once you saw what the asking price was they wanted for him, and what they were able to get David Montgomery for, of course now they have extended him. I can admit I was wrong. David Montgomery bringing him in was the way to go, and he has played well. So, if being a chump is being able to recognize when you were wrong, when your heart was telling you the wrong thing, I guess that's me. Guess I'm a chump, but we'll see. I guess. But my chump, on the other hand, for the week, Jeffrey, is Nick Sirianni, head coach for the Eagles. Again, the fact that you are a head coach of a national football team and you, after a victory, are going a victory at home. So it wasn't even like they were at the dog pound and he's talking shit to fans. He's doing it at home to Browns fans. Not a great look, especially with everything else, all the rumors going around about him losing the locker room and just the Eagles being, things not going well for them on the field. Not a great look. So my chump, Nick Sirianni.
Just as insufferable as the fan base.
Yeah. How about you, Jeffrey? Who'd you choose as your chump for this week?
My chump this week, and I hate to keep doing this to the Browns every week, it's Jimmy Haslam. It has been Jimmy Haslam. This week, no different. You really sold yourself, sold your soul for this, and it is backfiring in the most spectacular way. You just said a couple seconds ago, Kevin, admitting you're wrong moving forward, right? I don't think that's in.
That's not in their vocabulary. They're doubling down.
Some of these owners' vocabulary, Jerry Jones included, but many of the owners do that. But yeah, it's you're only just hurting the team long term. Even if just the short term looks bad as well, it's not good. You have him tied up for so long. There's no way that you keep trotting him out there like that.
Yeah, I am definitely familiar with the concept of being pot committed, but like at some point in time, sometimes you just got to recognize where rock bottom is and just call it quits. Just be like, okay, uh, we don't need to be like digging out the trench to get even further. Like we're there. It's fine. Just try something else. Just give it a try. See how it feels.
Yeah.
I mean, you can always go back if you don't like it. It's fine. You're the owner of the team. It's fine. It's fine. But maybe try something different. All right, everybody. Well, we appreciate everyone tuning in and taking the time to participate with us today on this Tuesday evening edition of the Lions Grid. And again, we're coming to you live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. And if you do enjoy the show, please do help the channels grow. Giving us a like, a subscribe, and a follow is the best way to help us out. And then we do have some other viewing options for you. The show is available as a podcast on Spotify. And then we do have highlights from the show available for you on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. So whatever your viewing preferences are or your listening style, I think we have a little bit of something out there for everybody. And let's see here. We had one more comment from my dad about the Browns situation here. I think the Browns are hoping that the recent NFL investigation comes back and they can get out of that contract based on Deshaun's actions so they can avoid the remainder of the contract.
That would be best case scenario.
Yeah. Didn't he have like some sort of like clause put in about like he couldn't
lose his he couldn't get the contract voided for some off the field issues?
Yeah, I thought he had something like stupid like that in there, which was like of all the players.
But I believe that was for things that were currently going on.
Oh, so this
might
is
have
extra.
Some of the new stuff popping up, so there could be some wording in that contract to get him out of that. But
yeah, I'm sure the NFL and the Browns have fantastic lawyers who will, if there is a way to get around that, they are certainly they have it circled and are probably like this is our way to freedom. So Hatter's House going for the Lions by 1 million.
All right.
Over the Vikings. We'll have to see there. That's going to be I think a pretty close game, but Jeffrey will be back on Sunday at 11 to talk that game. So if you want to tune in, we can see you on Sunday, everybody. But until then, Jeffrey, we like to end our shows with a let's see here. One more comment. That is one for that. Oh, yep. My dad just agreeing with you there for the accusations down in Houston, not the new accusations there. So yeah, we'll have to see how things play out there with the Browns. But until then, Jeffrey, we'll see you on Sunday, everyone, and we'll leave you with a Go Lions.
Go Lions.
And we'll see what we can do against those Vikings. Have a great night, everyone.